So in this video we're going to be looking at the culture of the first occupants. We're going to see how the First Nations saw the world and how their culture shaped their treatment of the environment. So what is culture? Culture can be defined in many ways. For our purposes, culture is a collection of beliefs, traditions, religions, and ideas of a specific society or individual. So if you're Christian, or Jewish, or Muslim, or Sikh, or whatever your religion happens to be, that is part of your culture. If your family goes for ice cream every Saturday, it's like your Saturday tradition. That's part of your culture. If you believe that life is not complete without the new Assassin's Creed, that's a belief. Also part of your culture. The game itself is part of your culture. It's part of gaming culture. I mean, if you look at this guy, snazzy dresser, looks pretty cool. The clothes that he's wearing is part of his culture. Nice monocle, bro. So in the 1500s, there were several Aboriginal groups in North America. We had the Iroquois, the Algonquin, and way up north, we had the Inuktitut. Their culture was linked to the environment. They needed the environment to survive, and we saw how the first occupants used animal skins for tents and bones for tools. They farmed, they hunted. All of these aspects of their life affected their culture. So what sort of connection do you think the first occupants had to their environment? Well, the Aboriginal people respected the environment because the environment allowed them to survive. Most of you respect your parents because without them you wouldn't be here. Alright, so some of you don't respect your parents, but without them you don't exist. The first occupants felt the same way about nature. The environment provided food, shelter, transportation, and clothing. Everyone worked together to ensure the tribe's survival. So last time, we talked about how birch bark canoes allowed the first occupants to travel. This also allowed them to hunt, which was part of their culture, which was part of their tradition. Without this, they couldn't survive. So the birch bark canoe is just one aspect of culture. So the same way having a car shows independence today, a birch bark canoe allowed people the independence to travel around the interior of Canada. So these snow goggles allowed the Inuit to see when it was very snowy and bright outside. The small slits only let in a little bit of light, which prevented snow blindness. Ever walk home in a snowstorm and not been able to see? Next time, get yourself a pair of Inuit snow goggles. Even sporting events such as a good game of lacrosse was something that was discussed by the elders and chiefs. All of these different parts of Aboriginal life helped make up their culture. So if you were going to elect a chief, what sort of qualities would you look for? Would you want someone who's smart and funny? Someone who's charismatic and good looking, maybe? Think of Barack Obama. People like him because he's smart, he's funny, he's definitely charming. The good looking part is debatable. Well, the first occupants were looking for similar characteristics for their chiefs. The Algonquins looked for someone who was a good hunter and an eloquent speaker. The Iroquois wanted an excellent warrior and someone who also was able to speak well. The reason why speaking was so important to the first occupants was that the chief was the spokesperson of the entire tribe. Now he spoke for the tribe, but he was not necessarily the ruler of the tribe. So some of you guys already have tattoos. You do it to show that you love a band, or you think you look tough, or because you like the art. Well, Aboriginals took part in body painting and tattooing for similar reasons. Tattoos were meant to communicate the clan identity, social status within the clan, or the role within a tribe. Body painting was also meant to frighten the enemy during war. I mean, imagine Zombie Boy coming to kill you with a tomahawk. That would be scary stuff. Look at this guy, he's covered in tattoos. He's menacing. The first occupants used tattoos, especially in warfare, the Iroquois specifically, to intimidate and terrify the enemy when they attacked. So now we're going to move on to a different part. We're going to look at the reciprocal relationship. So what is that? So one way of looking at a reciprocal relationship is if you hit me, I hit you back. Not really the best example. A better one is if you do something nice for me, I'll do something nice for you. The First Occupants did the same thing. They exchanged gifts as a sign of mutual respect, and they were not screwing around. They gave art, food, slaves, canoes, all kinds of stuff. When they traded, groups would dance, use drums, and sing while the chiefs exchanged gifts. Today, we measure wealth by how much we have. The First Occupants measured wealth by how much they could share, or even how much they could give away. So the First Occupants were animists. They believed that animate objects, so animate like animals and people, as well as inanimate objects, such as tools, totem poles like the one we have here in the picture, had spirit. Animism meant respect for the environment. It was the idea that everything had life, a spirit in it in some way. So that's really the main idea of animism. So now we're going to look at spirituality and dreams. So tobacco was seen as a way to talk to spirits. No, they were not smoking piff, they weren't smoking crack, they weren't smoking drugs. What they were actually smoking was tobacco. They believed that they were able to speak to the spirits in the smoke. Spirits also showed themselves to the First Occupants in dreams. Now, very important, it was the shaman's job to interpret dreams. He was the intermediary between the spirits and the aboriginals. Now, not only would he interpret dreams, he was also in charge of hunting and healing rituals. Now, the idea was he was also supposed to be able to do rain dances to change the weather. Now, if you have a chief who, not a chief, if you have a shaman who does rain dances or can't heal people, or you've been losing wars, what do? You get a new shaman. That's it. You didn't have it forever. If you did good work, you got to stay shaman. If you made bad predictions and bad things happen, you got replaced. So the Ojibwa, part of the Algonquin linguistic group, used Dreamcatchers, and the Dreamcatcher is probably their best known artifact. It was used to invite good dreams, protect against evil, and keep away diseases. It was the first talisman a young Ojibwa child would have. The same way some of you guys have a crucifix hanging in your house, the Ojibwa had Dreamcatchers to protect them from evil. So talk about girl power. Aboriginal women were the real bosses. Yes, the chief may have had been men, but it was the women who would choose who would be chief. And if he didn't do a good job, the clan mothers could get rid of him. The clan mothers also owned the land. Well, they were protectors of the land, but they were still pretty boss. Like, they pretty much had the last say. Society was matrilineal, which means that power was passed down through women, not through men. I think that's pretty cool. So drums were also a very important part of Aboriginal life. They could signal war, peace, trading, anything. Drums were integral to Aboriginal life. These are actually drums that were on display at the Royal Ontario Museum. But Aboriginal life really had drums and music as a very important part of their life. So, when we look at this, what do we know? So we know that the major Aboriginal groups were the Iroquois, the Algonquin, and the Inuktitut. The First Occupants believed that everything has a spirit. Tremendous respect was given to the environment. Chiefs needed to be strong and eloquent speakers so that they would be able to communicate and get good deals in trading. And gift giving, so that idea of reciprocity, you give me a gift, I give you a gift, was a very important part of their culture. And the shaman needed to interpret dreams, he talked to spirits, and he healed the sick. And we also saw that women were pretty boss. So that's sort of our look at the culture of the First Occupants. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. And here's some of the places I got my information. And if you have any questions, send me an email. Take care. Bye-bye.